Welcome to the White Coat Network, where we bring experts from diverse fields of healthcare across the globe. We clarify the facts, finding the truth behind the myths, and breaking down the rumors. And of course, we also sneak peek into the lives of experts beyond the white coat. Hello and welcome to the White Coat Network. We bring great conversations for you. Every week, we invite some healthcare leaders on the White Coat Network. So today we have a very special guest with us. Every year, thousands of women receive breast cancer diagnosis that could have been detected earlier. Not because treatment is unavailable, but because awareness often comes too late. Today, 1 in 5 women in India face a lifetime risk of developing cancer, and 1 in 13 are at risk of dying from it. Breast cancer remains the most common cancer affecting women globally, with 2.4 million new cases and 694,000 deaths each year. It is the leading cancer among women in the 164 countries, and nearly 80% of those diagnosed have no family history or major risk factors beyond age or gender. With numbers like these, awareness is not just important, it can save lives. Today we are exploring how awareness, prevention, and early detection can change this reality. And to guide us through this important conversation, we are joined by Professor Dr. Ajay Bhatnagar. Most people enter into the healthcare to treat the diseases only. A few dedicate their lives to prevent it. Professor Dr. Ajay Bhatnagar is a scientist, educator, and global health advocate. He has spent majority of his career time studying breast cancer, and in the process, he has discovered and developed the most used drug called Femara and letrozole. Through his work with Dear Foundation Switzerland and DearYou initiative, he has helped make trusted health information more accessible across the languages, cultures, and communities. It is our pleasure to welcome Professor Dr. Ajay Bhatnagar to the White Coat Network. Dr. Bhatnagar, thank you so much for joining us.
Well, Mr. Chauhan, thank you very much for inviting me to talk about this very important aspect of breast cancer, which unfortunately does not get discussed very often. So with your dedication and with your influence to information being carried to the right people and the right information being carried to the right people makes it very important for me to be here and to help do that. Thank you very much.
As we always discuss about this particular disease called breast cancer, let me start with the very first question. Despite major medical advancements, why are so many women in India still diagnosed with breast cancer at advanced stages?
Well, thank you for that question. It's actually relatively easy to answer that, although the answer is very difficult. The answer is awareness of breast cancer and its consequences is unfortunately not well known amongst the general population. Secondly, we are bothered by a situation that occurs in any patient anywhere in the world. And that is the word cancer elicits a lot of anxiety and fear in a person. And so when we talk to women and talk to them about cancer, they would rather not talk about it because it is unpleasant for them to get the anxiety that they experience. So it is my job, I hope, to be able to relieve some of the women of this fear and therefore make the information that we are trying to give them much more available to them.
Well, when we hear the stories of late diagnosis in India or outside India as well, the first barrier exists much earlier in the human mind. So let us understand from you, from both a biological and psychological perspective, why do people ignore health warnings even when they feel something may be wrong? And what actually happens when fear delays diagnosis?
Well, to answer the first part of your question, the reason, again, as I said before, has to do with fear of the word cancer. And so when people do discuss, not diagnose, feel that there is something in their breast which is not normal, they try and convince themselves that it's not really that important. And with the time that it takes for them to get from that stage to the stage where it is important, unfortunately, this deadly tumor has progressed to a stage which is called a late advanced stage.
Well, once again, you are just enlightened me on this particular question. So we frequently hear many women later say, like once they diagnosed and they talk about, I felt something wrong. Something was not right with me, but I kept postponing getting checked. So could you please just share with us, like, the main question in this part is, what are the earliest warning signs people commonly ignore, and how dramatically can early detection change outcomes when cancer is found months earlier rather than later?
Well, again, for lay people, it's difficult to tell them which symptoms or which factors to look for. What I can say very simply is, please look at your breast and examine it regularly and as often as you can. And if you find anything that is different in that breast compared to what it was a week ago or a month ago or several months ago, that is the first sign that you should be getting good health care.
As you're talking about the early detection, could you please tell our audience that what are the tests they can do to understand in a very early stage? Is there any, like, you would like to enlighten us about the tests?
I mean, there are a series, yes, of course. But it all starts with going to your healthcare provider, a doctor, a gynecologist, and asking him or her to please look at your breast, examine your breast, and tell the patient, does he or she see what I saw as well? After that, the doctor should send you for a diagnostic mammography, which gives a very good and precise answer to what is there and what it might be. And then if the mammography says that there might be something suspicious there and it could be breast cancer, one needs to take a biopsy and measure the characteristics that define breast cancer. Those are the most important steps that one needs to take.
What they need to do in order to prevent from this particular disease?
Well, one thing I have to tell you now, maybe contradict you a little bit, there is no prevention of breast cancer. The only way you can prevent something is if you know why it happens. And we do not know even today what causes breast cancer. So what we're dealing with is a situation that you can only assess when you first see it. And therefore it becomes difficult once you first see it for the woman who is fearful of the word cancer to convince her that she really should go early to be able for a physician, male or female physician, to be able to say, yes, you're right, there is something here and we need to look at it further.
So do you believe awareness itself saves lives? And why do you think prevention continues to receive less attention than treatment, even though it may save more lives?
Well, again, any disease form, awareness of any disease form can only be a positive. So whether it's breast cancer, whether it's lung cancer, whether it is a heart problem, awareness helps you to catch any problem early. And the earlier you catch more problems, the better it is for their treatment as time goes on. So it becomes really important for women, in this case, in the case of breast cancer, to be aware of all it is that she would see and what the consequences of that are, and to try and make women understand that their awareness is actually, in a sense, going to save their life.
Well, I'm very curious to know about that. In your experience in India and outside India, do you feel India is still lagging behind in terms of awareness about the diseases, something like that, breast cancer?
Well, I think that, again, awareness is enhanced if the level of education is higher. And so if you find societies where maybe in very remote areas where normal information doesn't reach them, is that it becomes more difficult for them to be aware of something. In societies that have access to lots of information, awareness is important, but it's easier for them to understand awareness. And so our problem in India is to be able to, for both these groups of people, to be able to use a method that is understandable by both of them. And it's more difficult to make it understandable to people who are less aware of what the news is than it is for people who are more aware of what is happening outside.
What is the best way to reach out the maximum females, and females in India can get early access of awareness of any disease that they are dealing with?
Absolutely there is. All right. I mean, where do we get our information from today? We get our information from the television. We get our information, maybe not so much now, from the radio, from newspapers. And today, more and more, we get our information by using a smartphone, because a smartphone has access to many sources of information that we previously did not have. So in my mind, the smartphone is, for me, the preferred platform, the preferred device to try and disseminate information.
What impact do chronic stress, sleep deprivation, sedentary habits, and modern living have on women's long-term health risks?
Well, again, over the years, as far as cancer, any cancer is concerned, especially breast cancer, to be able to understand the situation of breast cancer, the biology of breast cancer, most of the impact has been on finding out what the biology of breast cancer is. And the biology is determined by what are different markers that we can find and so on. Today, we're at a point where we have a lot of that information. So now we are focusing our effects on, is it possible that lifestyle as well has an effect on the growth of breast cancer? Because as I mentioned to you, there is no prevention. And yes, there are things that we are finding. Of the two most important things is obesity, and the other one is alcohol consumption. These are two factors that have been best studied and where there is very good data that shows that there is an impact of both these situations on the growth of breast cancer.
You talked about obesity, the fastest growing concern across the globe. Like how, and people are not actually focusing on it. We see out of 10, 3 to 4 people nowadays, they are obese. And why they are not actually concerned about them?
Well, the answer to your question is very similar to the answer for breast cancer awareness. The awareness of any health factor, any serious derogatory factor, is understanding what that situation does to people. Obesity leads to diseases like diabetes type 2. It's an unhealthy situation to be in. Obesity leads to cardiac problems, cardiovascular problems. One knows that as well. So obviously, if you can reduce obesity, you will also reduce the incidence of diabetes type 2 and of cardiovascular effects. So awareness becomes very important no matter which disease that you're dealing with or which health situation that you're dealing with. And today, with the emphasis that we have on lifestyle situations are being studied and are also shown to have an effect on many different diseases and also on breast cancer.
Well, really wonderful. As today we are talking about specifically women's health and the breast cancer. If every woman listening today adopted just 3 habits for long-term breast health awareness, what would those habits be from your side?
Well, we've spoken about this before, but the most important one is obesity. All right, which is known that obesity has an impact on the growth of breast cancer. And at the present time, we are trying to study what the molecular basis of this is. But obviously, obesity is going to be one of the most important factors in the situation that we have. And here again, to not eliminate it, but to reduce obesity, diet and nutrition becomes an extremely important part. But again, diet and nutrition is a part of any good health routine that we have in our lives, including alcohol. All right. I mean, the consumption of alcohol is also something that is growing in volume today. And one doesn't really understand, the people don't understand that consuming more alcohol has an unhealthy effect on one's biological system. So again, I'll come back to these two because these two are really the most important that we know. It may be that tomorrow, with good research, we'll find something else. But today, that is where it stands.
Is there anything relation between like consuming alcohol and smoking to the breast cancer? Is there any relation between all these things?
Smoking, much less to none. Obviously, smoking is a direct cause of lung cancer. All right, but that's a different matter. And there's been one man who's been working on the effects of alcohol on breast cancer at an institution in France, in Lyon. And what he has been showing is that there is definitely a relationship between the consumption of alcohol in amounts that are both unhealthy and also conducive to causing the growth of breast cancers.
One challenge is that health awareness does not just compete with misinformation. It also competes with linguistic, cultural, and educational barriers in a country like India. So I mean to say, like, misinformation is a lot on internet nowadays. Every now and then when we watch the videos on Instagram, that every person is actually trying to just tell a lot about different diseases, right? And sometimes we have seen some of them are not doctors. Still, they are just spreading some information, or I would say the misinformation. So the question is, how important is it to make health knowledge accessible regardless of knowledge, literacy, or location? And how critical is multilingual healthcare communication in improving health outcomes and potentially saving lives?
Well, I only need to use one word. It is crucial to help us live healthy lives. And by living healthy lives, we also make the contributions that we have to society last much longer. And so there is no question about the fact that awareness of all these factors is crucial for a healthy life. How one disseminates it is depending upon what it is that we have available to us. If we have television in different languages, that is what is very useful. If we have cell phones, smartphones that also distribute this type of information, it is very good. And one thing that is very important is that we need to have informed people who have a special expertise in a certain area, also have the ability of transmitting that information in layman's terms and to doing it effectively in layman's terms.
You have been into healthcare domain for the last decades. I mean, 3-4 decades, if I'm not wrong.
Yes.
Right. And being an educator, a scientist, and studied a lot about breast cancer, and also discovered some drugs like Femara,
Yes.
right? And
Yes.
letrozole, if I'm right.
Yes.
Okay. So I need to ask this question to you. What is your, USP for healthy lifestyle, personally?
Well, again, as I said, what is it that affects our health? Our health is affected by the heart. One needs to have a healthy heart, all right? And so all lifestyle issues that may affect the heart is something that we need to take seriously. And again, it comes back to the same thing again and again. Obesity and alcohol consumption are the things that today are considered to be really something that the society does. You eat more than you should eat because we are a society of plenty. And to now say that maybe there's plenty, but we really need to limit how much we use of that plenty, whether it is food, nutrition, or alcohol.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your own experience as well and your USP of living a healthy lifestyle. In the last few questions, we were talking about like awareness, and awareness should be in local language. So while researching about you, understanding about you, we got to know that you are the part of the Dear Foundation Switzerland and its founder, Sonia Dinner, and the DearYou app. How did the idea first emerge and what problem was it designed to solve?
Well, as you rightly mentioned, Sonia Dinner is the founder of the Dear Foundation Switzerland. And it was created about 20 years ago by her. And the reason why it was created by her with an app, information dissemination, awareness in the breast cancer area, because she had had personal contacts with people who had breast cancer, who had died of breast cancer. And somehow she felt, in the way that she thinks positively about different things, is that there must be something we could do about making this less impactful as it is today. And so she came up with this app. Why? Because it is probably the easiest and it is the most effective way of distributing information over a very wide area. As you know, the world today, smartphones are considered to be just like we used to have pens and pencils in our pockets. Today, it is smartphones that we have in our pockets. So to use the smartphone as the vehicle in which we use to disseminate information was a brilliant idea. And remember, this was 20 years ago. So it was a seminal idea. It was a pioneering idea. And I think that it is probably going to be, in the future, the best way to disseminate information, not just breast cancer, but many other diseases, and how to maintain good, healthy lifestyles.
As we're talking about the Dear Foundation Switzerland, again, I have one question. How this application, DearYou app, will help the people in India?
So give me a little bit of time to explain something to maybe people will understand it a little better. You mentioned earlier that I've spent 4 decades, most part of my career, studying breast cancer. And it was the goal and the aim when I first started that we need to get a drug that very effectively treats breast cancer. And that drug was developed in my lab, Femara or letrozole. And we did all the studies we were supposed to do with that and found it was very effective in causing the regression of breast tumors. So we thought, look, we've got this and we've solved the problem of breast cancer. Unfortunately, that was not so. When we looked at the data more carefully, we found, yes, this was a very effective drug in stopping the growth of breast cancer. But the end point and the most important point was, how does this drug affect survival and mortality? And to our surprise, we found that this drug did not improve survival or mortality to a very great extent. So why was this? What was this question? And over the years of research, a very simple answer was taken out of the literature. It was found that if breast cancer is detected in its early stages, then survival is 95%. If breast cancer is detected at later stages, survival drops from 95% to 80% to 40% and to 20%. So it was very important to detect this disease early. And how do you detect it early? You detect it early by giving people information as to why it is important for them to detect it early. Now, you don't need to be educated to a PhD level or to an MD level to explain to people that if you have a risk of dying, you can reduce that risk considerably by being aware of what it is that you should do. And that is, you should examine your own breast regularly. And the best time is once a month. And the app, the DearYou app, was designed precisely to do that. So for me, who had worked so long in breast cancer, who could not find an answer to how it is we can reduce mortality, this app, the DearYou app, became one of the most important things. And I came out of retirement to work with this app because I think it is the best way of disseminating awareness of breast cancer today.
Well, it's great to hear because like education is the important factor. If we know that if we get the early access of any platform like DearYou app, that many females will get the early diagnosis. So building a healthcare platform is one thing because many people are building some applications. They are coming to the market every day. Building trust is another. Why somebody should trust? So the question is, how do you ensure the information shared through the DearYou app remains scientifically accurate, evidence-based, and reliable for the users?
How do we convince the people that we are trying to reach that the information that we are disseminating is scientifically based, is evidence-based, and has a consensus amongst specialists? So I went back to these people who were world-leading breast cancer researchers, and we have developed with the Dear Foundation Switzerland a scientific advisory board where I have chosen people I have worked with before, people I trust, people whose science is very good science. And what we thought was we should get these as widely disseminated as possible, but not very large. So we have a scientist in Switzerland, we have one in the UK, we have one in the United States, and we have one in Brazil. And these 5 people, and one in India. And these 5 people are advising us on the validity and the scientific relevance of what it is that we are presenting in this app.
What's a pleasure to hear it, like combining technology and science together and making the lives easier for the females especially. So technology can be a powerful tool as I'm getting from your site, especially when it helps important health information reach people who need it most. What do you think about how can technology help close healthcare gaps in low resources settings? And how can a simple mobile application create meaningful impact in undeserved communities around the world?
Well, all I can say there is to people listening to this podcast, the White Coat Network, the physicians that you have, download the DearYou app. It is free. It is downloadable on both the Android and the iOS platforms. It is available in all of its 6 Indian languages that we have at the present time. Look at it and convince yourselves that we have information on here which is reliable and good, and then disseminate this information. Information has to come from its source going to its recipient. And the source is science. The cell phone is technology. And science and technology are now in a situation where you can disseminate this to every single person, either in India or in the world. As you know, there are more cell phones in the world today than there is a population. So one can, on an average, assume that every person in the world has access to a cell phone, which they can read and look themselves. They don't have to go anywhere else to get. They don't need a television screen. They don't need a laptop computer. The cell phone allows them the access to the world of information.
So I personally feel that this app is going to help millions of females in India. So I personally request to each and every female across the globe, at least download the DearYou app so that you can just check the markers way before then something comes to your body, right? So that's my humble request to everybody. So let's just go further. What role should doctors, schools, media platforms, families, and communities play together in creating a prevention-first healthcare culture?
Well, as you said before, the early diagnosis leads to saving of lives, all right? Now we are trying to disseminate that information. So what are our sources of dissemination? So we have to find single people who have a network where they will reach more than one person. Doctors are very important because they see patients every day, so they can disseminate information to their patients. Patients, women, have mothers, sisters, sisters-in-law, aunts, so they can disseminate information to these. And so using a network, we tend to cover a much larger area using one person, the doctor. Schools, what do schools do? Schools teach us. Schools teach us and we disseminate information through schools. We need to disseminate information about this app. So schools are very useful. Any organization that has access to more people and any organization that transmits information is a very important platform through which this information can be disseminated. Doctors, in addition, are people who generate trust in the population. So the question of trust is also accessed by them. We believe our schools teach us the right thing. So schools would be a very good source of information. And so any platform that you can choose that disseminates information is going to be useful and should be used.
One personal question from this conversation and about this particular application we are talking about. When we download any application, and after 7 days or 14 days, we are asked to go for premium. Is there any charges for this application? Please talk about it, because the females, the people, those who are going to download it, they have a first question whether it's chargeable or not. Please.
Well, as I mentioned to you before, Sonia Dina, our president, is very well aware that there should be no hurdles to people accessing the DearYou app for information. With the result that there is no charge for this. There are several other aspects as well that are very important. There's no charge for this, so it can be downloaded at free, at no cost at all. Secondly, in this sort of situation, many women may be shy away from using it because of privacy. Okay. This app was developed to ensure privacy. There is virtually no internet contact with this. The information is kept on the phone and it becomes the property of the person using it. So the information is between the user and the cell phone, giving the highest level of privacy that we can assess. There are just a few things that we need which has nothing to do with privacy. And the things are to assess, to have metrics that allow us to determine how successful we are. We'd like to know how many of the apps are being downloaded. Get the numbers, how many apps are being used, but that's it. So these numbers help us to assess how successful our program is.
Well, great. We have seen such videos on your platforms, Instagram and Facebook, that you are already working in India. Could you please talk about it, where you are working in India right now?
Well, at the moment, we are working in the states of Chhattisgarh. We are working in the state of Maharashtra. We are hoping very soon to be able to work in the state of Madhya Pradesh. I have contacts in Punjab and Chandigarh. And we are using the Tata Memorial Institute in Mumbai, which is our premium institution for the treatment of cancer. Or we are using their platforms also to try and disseminate. We are using anything that we can find that we have contacts with.
Brilliant. Any institution, healthcare organization wants to connect with you to work with your foundation, how they can connect with you?
Well, with this app, if what they're looking for is breast cancer awareness and early detection of breast cancer, they don't need us. They need the app. The app will speak to them. The app has information in it that will speak to them. The app teaches them how to do a self-breast exam. So everything that they need is there. We, as a foundation, are a giver. We give the app. It is a gift to women around the world, and it is something that they will recognize the value of just by looking at the app and what it contains. So contact with the foundation is something that is not necessary, and it is something that one could contact us, but we try not to be that visible. We would like the visibility of our foundation to be the DearYou app.
Well, that's great. So I'm delighted to get your answers. These are really insightful, and also learned a lot from your experience. And now it's a time of very interesting questions are coming to you that we call it code blue, some kind of rapid fire questions. Are you ready for it?
I guess so. I'm as ready for it as I can be, I think.
The first and foremost question to Professor Dr. Ajay Bhatnagar from Code Blue. That is one decision in your life that changed everything.
The decision to be able to do something that would help people through my scientific knowledge.
A habit you believe contributes most to a healthy life.
A good and healthy diet, no processed foods, and keeping your weight in check.
What is harder to change, human behavior or a disease?
Oh my goodness, human behavior. There's no question about that.
A book, quote, or philosophy you often return to.
Well, it may not have anything to do with my scientific work, but the Hindu philosophy is something that I grew up with, and I still return to anytime I need to get inspiration for doing what it is that I do.
Great. What is one misconception people have about doctors?
Misconceptions, I'm not sure, but it has to do with trust. If the person has trust in his or her doctor, I think that is the most important part of this. And so trust, I would say, is the one thing that doctors should elicit in their patients, and that creates the best patient-doctor relationship.
Just a personal question. Do you think that in the last 30 years or 40 years in your experience that doctors have less trust nowadays than the earlier? Do you believe in that, or have you seen such kind of situation?
I don't believe that I have seen it. I use belief because I don't know all the doctors personally. But I do know that there are also disadvantages of disseminating information, because that information might be false information or fake information. And I think that very often doctors who are not very knowledgeable in layman's languages will say things that will lead the person listening to you in a totally different direction. So that is the one problem that we might experience.
Wonderful. What is one question people should ask their doctor more often?
Doctor, how do I live a healthier life?
That's what actually I asked you. Okay. So, which is more powerful, knowledge, technology, or compassion?
I don't think that the three are inseparable. You need all three.
All three. In order to live a best lifestyle.
Best lifestyle, yes.
Okay. What gives you hope about the future of healthcare?
As a scientist, I would be totally unsuccessful if I didn't have hope. And so hope is the one thing that drives me.
One thing society gets wrong about women's health.
Now, that is very difficult to answer. Society doesn't get things wrong. Society gets things interpreted not the way they were meant. I don't believe that society gets anything wrong.
What is most important lesson medicine has taught you about life?
To have an open mind, to be able to very firmly believe that what you're doing is going to be beneficial.
What motivates you on difficult days? We all have difficult days.
But do you really want to know?
Yes.
My 5-year-old grandson.
Do you play with him?
Yes.
What, sports do you love to play with him or?
At 5 years old, He loves to play on the playground, so I help him climb up. I help him to do things. So we play cards, but we do puzzles because I want him to learn how do you take 50 or 100 small pieces, put them together to make a picture. And he loves to do that. And that is for me also very important because I don't know how to put a puzzle together. And then when we see a picture, it gives me the same sort of feeling when I do my research. And I found that my information is now giving me a picture rather than pixel points that are just distributed all around. And they are now made into a picture that one can see.
I can see the happiness on your face when we are talking about him. What's his name?
His name is Aaron.
Aaron.
Yeah.
Okay. Any message you would like to give Aaron when he will be 20 years old? Could you please just give one message to him when he will be 20 years old? He will be watching you on this camera.
Aaron, do whatever it is that you enjoy doing and you can do with the best of your ability.
Great. Aaron, it will be a great message to you from your grandfather, and you will love to watch this when you will grown up. Yeah. Okay, one word that describes India's healthcare future.
Bright, and another word, rosy. Rosy because good healthcare leads to the what should I say, the essence of flowers, and so rosy.
If you could solve only one global health problem in your lifetime, what would it be?
Reducing the mortality from breast cancer.
We often ask this question to every doctor. So, same for you. If you had a billboard, you want to put it on every crossing line in India, what would it say especially about healthcare?
Inform yourself the best way you can.
So before we conclude this conversation that I'm enjoying, one final thought from your side. If you could deliver one message today to every Indian family about women's health awareness, what would it be?
I would say to the family, today, actually always, but today more than anything else, the health of a woman in a family is the central part of a family. A woman is a mother, she's a wife, she's an educator, she's a carer for her parents, and that the woman is more a central part of our family life than has ever been in the past.
Well, that's great. And I would love to ask this question. How was your experience?
But as I've said to you before, science without its dissemination to the population is a very small, closeted, unimportant thing. And so to be on your podcast and to know that it is going to go to many other people gives me a lot of pleasure because that is what I would like to do.
Any suggestion or feedback you would like to give us to make it more meaningful?
No, I don't think so. I think you have asked the right questions. I hope I've given answers that will resonate with the people listening to this. Just a small thing that I would maybe say to you is instead of just having two of us, it would be nice to have a panel discussion so that your listeners can look at different points of view and convince themselves that they're not doing what one person says, but they're doing something that different people have discussed, and there has been a consensus amongst them that this is what you should know.
To get the different perspective, and I would love to just follow your suggestion to invite the panel discussions to different doctors in one panel, and you would definitely see it in near future. We will definitely do it. Thank you so much for appearing and sparing some time to just to come on the White Coat Network to talk about a very important topic that is called the breast cancer. Millions of females are suffering from it across the world, and you are solving this problem with the help of the Dear Foundation or DearYou app. And I would love to have more conversations in future with you. So thank you so much.
And thank you for having me here for this.
The lady behind this mission called this Dear Foundation Switzerland and DearYou app, Sonia Denner. So let's have her and let's speak from her about this application, about this foundation, how she is building this particular foundation and helping millions of women across the globe. So please welcome Sonia Denner for you. Please talk
Well-
about your work, what exactly you are building and you are doing.
Well, thank you very much for having me. I would like to, just in a nutshell, tell you quickly, I was affected by breast cancer, not because I ever had it, but I lost very close friends and relatives to breast cancer who would not have to die if they would have been earlier. And I find it outrageous if we heard what Professor Bhatnagar said, that 95% of the women could be saved and they pass away. How terrible is that for all the families and the communities? So this, coming from IT, was the driver for me to say, we have to do something about that and we're going to change it. We developed a professional app. It's called DearYou. It comes today, it's 18 languages, 6 Indian languages. It's also suitable for illiterate women, very important. We shall never forget them. And it works online, internet, so we feed it with new articles and news. And it works offline for the very poor ones who do not have always internet or rarely internet, so they download it once. But nevertheless, they have comprehensive, life-saving information about breast cancer. And my personal goal is, together with the Dear Foundation, with our teams in Zurich, in Jerusalem, Monrovia, and Singapore, we want to save or reach 1 billion women with the app. Very big. We can't do it alone. It would be too big for us. It's too big for Bill Gates or WHO. It only works if we do it together. This is why we invite all Indian organizations, hospitals, corporations, universities, to work together, to reach out to us. If we can provide them with supporting materials, we're actually hiring people this very week in India who will be here always. We are here every 6-8 weeks. And we would like to help you to reach more women, that we really reach so many of those women who need it most. And we want to lower mortality, and it's my dream 5 years from now, 10 years from now, that we can say that not 100,000 women per year pass away from breast cancer in India, but that we lower mortality dramatically, because it's possible. 95% of the women could be saved. So let's do it together. And we offer a gift to the women, to the organizations. It's free. We only have to use it. Raise awareness. Breast cancer very often is not terrible. In a few cases, it is very terrible. We know that. We take it very seriously. But we would like to tell the women, if we check ourselves once a month, then we are as safe as we probably can be. A practical example, if I find something today here, I wouldn't freak out, because I would say, hey, you have not been here a month ago or 2 months ago. So what does it mean in medical terms? It's not old, most probably not old. And my survival rates are so much better. And my cancer journey will be most probably much, much shorter. It reduces cost in medical terms, medical cost. And for companies, it means that their employees who do have breast cancer, that their leave will be much shorter, their survival rates will be much higher. So everybody is just profiting. So in a way, I call it a no-brainer.
Great.
So we love to be in India. We love to reach out to all the areas, the cities. We're this week in Mumbai, in Hyderabad, in Raipur, and other places. As Professor Bhatnagar mentioned, we work with Tata, with Balco Medical Center, and others, and we want more partners. So please come on to Switzerland, reach out to us, and we will find ways to make it happen. 1 billion women worldwide, and 700 million are in India. And we would like to reach as many of those as we possibly can.
Great. Well, thank you so much for your special appearance in this particular episode. And I loved your work. And I would love to give a promise. The White Coat Network is going to help you across India.
Thank you so much.
Right? This is an open, promise to you. The White Coat Network is always stand by the DearYou Foundation Switzerland at every stage that whatever you are doing in India, because the goal that you have set to reach out to help 1 billion females, that we will be stand by with you every time.
That's fabulous. Let me just add, I forgot, it's a non-profit initiative, so that everybody knows there is no money involved. Huh?
Perfect.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. And I'm like just super happy to have you in the middle of this conversation. And hopefully people will love this transition of this particular podcast. Right?
Totally excited.
Yes. Thank you so much
Thank you
for
so
being
much.
here. Well, I love this conversation. Honestly speaking, a very rare. I feel I don't want to finish it. So lastly, thank you so much for being with us for the this time. And you watch the podcast and you give us feedback. We love it. And we will also just request you to subscribe the channel and to give us your feedback. And it will help us and motivate us to make it better for you. You can connect with us on different platforms: Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, X, and any social media platform, even the audio platforms, Apple podcast and Spotify podcast. You can connect with us on these platforms. This is your host, Sachin Chauhan, wishing you a healthy lifestyle. See you in the next episode. Thank you so much.